Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our first ever CKI Winter Engagement Rally. My name is Katie Lynch, and I'm currently serving as your Circle K International Vice President. We're so happy that you have joined us today, and we hope that you leave this session invigorated and ready to take on the rest of the service year. The schedule for today includes presentations from the Circle K International Board, opportunities to collaborate with other students to brainstorm membership growth ideas, and maybe a Kahoot or two. By growing our membership, we can amplify our impact on our community, and we're super excited to share some strategies and opportunities for growth with you all. Taylor, you can go to the next slide. So before we jump into the content we have today, I wanted to take a moment to talk about land acknowledgements. We must acknowledge that the universities that hold US CCAG clubs, like the United States as a nation, were founded upon the exclusions and erasures of Indigenous peoples. Consistent with the core values of Circle K International, we have a responsibility to acknowledge, honor, and make visible our relationship to the land. It's also vital to recognize that land acknowledgements are just the first step in greater consciousness of Native sovereignty and cultural rights, and must be followed by efforts toward equitable relationships with the tribes of the lands we occupy. As servant leaders and community members, we have a responsibility to honor the Indigenous land we stand on and take steps to develop relationships with local tribes. I currently reside on the traditional lands of the Lenape people, also known as Lenape-Hoking. I'm going to share the link to native-land.ca in the chat, and I welcome you all to look at that website and share in the chat if you'd like whose ancestral land you're joining us from. Before we get started, I also wanted to remind you all to please approach today with an open mind and ground yourself on intentionality, confidence building, community lifting, and justice centering. With that said, please turn on your cameras and make sure you have snacks and water nearby, and get ready to learn. Taylor, you can go to the next slide. So to kick us off, we have first curated some international board trivia. So Taylor, you can stop sharing your screen, and I'm going to share the Kahoot that we have prepared for you all. Thank you all so much for participating in that Kahoot. I hope that it was fun and you're able to get to know our board members a little bit more. So now I'm going to turn it over to Zach to talk to you guys about the current state of our organization as it is today.
I can't share my screen. Do you want to give me sharing rights real quick?
Sam, can you give Zach?
Oh, yeah, it says disabled. Oh, it says now co-host. I think it might work now. Cool. Let's see. It's loading. It has the spinning wheel of death right now again, every time. There we go. Can you all see that? All right, awesome. So we're going to go through quick state of CKI and some upcoming things that we have going on with the organization. So first off, we're going to start with some membership numbers. So as of this week, January 31st, CKI has 4,713 members. And over the last several weeks, we've been looking at some projections and what that'll look like. So if things go as they have the last couple of years, we finished with almost 8,500 members 2 years ago and almost 7,000 members last year. So we're on pace to finish with around 6,000 members, which is pretty far short of our 8,500 member goal. This isn't meant to be brought up to scare anyone. It's really just meant to push us to really be pushing spring recruitment with our clubs and make sure that we're reaching out to all of the unpaid clubs, all of the inactive clubs. So we're really doing our best to make sure that we try to hit that membership goal, or at least are able to see growth this year. Um, there's still a lot of time left in the year. A lot of suspended now clubs, a lot of unpaid clubs that we still have to reach out to. So this is just a reminder, like we still have a lot of work to do and there's still a lot to be done. Um, so still a ton we can be doing. Um, so moving forward, we're going to be looking to host events like this. This is primarily targeted to avoid burnout, and hopefully make this a fun event. Um, we do want to hear your feedback too, so feel free to drop it in the chat. What you all want to see from district events, sister district events, and what you all want to see from me and from the international board, and what you want to see at governor forums. You can feel free to drop those in the chat, email or text me ideas, but we really do just want to get feedback to see like what we can be doing, what kind of resources you need, what kind of things we can be doing better, because it's on all of us to improve and really be reaching for that number. Um, and then as a reminder to be reaching out to those individual unpaid clubs. We've been doing a great job with that list, but continue to be doing that, especially as clubs have gone into suspended status. It's great to be reaching out to them still. They won't have to pay an additional fee to pay their dues at this point. They'll just be activated once they pay their dues. So if they want that active status, want to be able to run for district and international board positions, we want to make sure that they pay their dues and get all those member benefits. Additionally, we're going to be working with the trustees moving forward to have growth updates for governors every week and have membership trackers so you stay on top of how every district's doing, and so the governors are more aware of what's been going on with every single club. Make sure that we're all on top of it. So some good news is we are pretty much at our brick by brick fundraising goal. We're about $400 away, and that is before the start of decon season, which is really exciting. Huge shout out to the Carolinas for their great job fundraising. We have multiple districts that have raised multiple $1,000s as well. Ohio and Capital are 2 and 3 right now on the list for the year. So we're doing a great job with fundraising, and I know that decon season is a great time to continue fundraising. Um, service hours are looking pretty good, but we definitely need to make sure that clubs are reporting accurately. Um, we need to make sure that they're filling out the forms and everything, but we still got a lot of work to do on service hours. But again, as decon season rolls around, those numbers start to spike a lot. So looking good on that. Tomorrow Fund applications also, we already had 16 applications, which is up from the 15 that we had in both cycles last year. So it's great to see that our members are taking advantage of all of the potential benefits of being a CKI member. So next cycle will open April 1st, and we encourage you to continue pushing that to your clubs. Next, we're going to talk about some of our initiatives. So Strive for 10 program, so far, as of this was checked a couple weeks ago, but we had 19 clubs that achieved growth of 10 or more members, which is great to see. We are sending out a spotlight form, so we'll be checking in on that to spotlight some of those clubs and some of the things that they're doing well to increase their membership. Really great way to encourage other clubs to continue promoting this initiative too. And we encourage you to keep recruiting during the spring. That's really the way that we're going to hit our membership goals, and it's really the way that we're going to do it properly. Um, Other things, first year ambassador program, that's something that we can be working with our clubs in the spring and the fall for. I know a lot of clubs felt underprepared to implement it in the fall, but we still have some time in the spring, and it's never too early to start planning for the next fall semester. So if clubs are interested in this, we encourage them to reach out with questions. If districts are interested in implementing something like this, we encourage you to reach out as well. We have some success stories, and we're happy to help with whatever you need for that. Other than that, some other member benefits that we encourage you to continue promoting. Like I said before, Tomorrow Fund, always a great member resource. The Alumni Network and the Global Leadership Certificate. The GLC, or the Global Leadership Certificate, is a great resource. Alumni Network is great for graduating seniors and juniors that are about to be seniors. Great to start getting involved with this. There's a lot of opportunities, and it's just going to keep expanding. So next, we're going to talk about March Brick by Brick. So the international board will be doing a Bricks Got Talent fundraiser. We'll be announcing that theme pretty soon, but it's a fundraising competition that'll be going on throughout the month of March. And the Brick by Brick committee will also be hosting a virtual event on March 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark that off on your calendars. It's going to be a super cool event that hopefully involves a lot of people and a lot of fundraising. So keep an eye out for that. We'll send out some more details as we get a little closer to the event. Next thing for governors is the Governor Administrator Training Conference, or GATSE. It will be in person in Indianapolis this year. So new governors should register as soon as possible. Just a reminder for that. So as district convention season is rolling along and we start to elect those governors, make sure that we're having them book their flights and having them register as soon as possible. We do definitely want to plan ahead as much as we can. I know the turnaround is pretty quick on getting those flights for some districts, but sooner we can do it, the better. And it'll be super exciting to be in person. There also will be a virtual option for those that are unable to attend in person. Next thing, International Convention. Just a quick plug for this. It will be July 3rd through 5th, 2024 in Denver at the Denver Convention Center. It'll be a super exciting time. Seeing fireworks on the 4th of July in Denver, like the Mile High City, it's going to be super cool. There's going to be some incredible networking opportunities. Kiwanians and CKI members from around the world are going to be there. So it'll be a very, very cool experience. And I would encourage, oh, it just skipped. And I would encourage all members to attend. So everyone on this call will hopefully be registering for ICON. I would love to see you all there. And then just some information on registration that we'll put up here. This will be sent out a bunch more times too, but yeah, just a reminder about ICON and how exciting and fun of an opportunity it is. It really is very cool to see how much we accomplish as an organization and just to gather and network with people that you would never meet in person otherwise. So very, very cool experience. And that is it for me for the state of CKI. So I will pass it back to Katie.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. Does anyone have any questions on those numbers that Zach presented or any of the resources that he shared before we continue?
Quick question.
Mhm.
For like submitting fundraising updates, where and who do we do that?
In terms of like money that you fundraise for Brick by Brick?
Yeah.
So you'll submit it online through like the circlek.org/brick by brick website. And then as soon as you submit that, it comes into our system and we're able to like track that based on the club and district that it came from.
Okay. All right, got it. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, perfect. So Taylor, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Katie. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Taylor. I'm currently serving as a Circle K International trustee this year. So let's get excited. We're not bracing ourselves. We're getting excited for spring recruitment because it is here. It is really vital that we are focusing on spring recruitment, not just fall recruitment. I personally was a spring recruit, so it's very important for us to do this. If you have any questions, please save them for the end, or you can drop them in the chat. So yeah, I'm going to try to get through this pretty quickly, and that way we have a couple of exercises and a Kahoot at the end as well. My screen wants to, there we go. So first, moving into recruitment, you really want to be thinking outside of the box when you're recruiting at your school and in your local community. Every school and every community has a different culture, so it's really important to keep that in mind. You want to develop ideas for recruitment and strategies early on in the year with your board. So for example, if you've just come into office, it's April 1st, you really want to be doing this over the summer. Make sure you have a plan for the year ahead. And then also for the spring. So you can meet over winter as well to come up with some spring recruitment strategies as well. When you're in these meetings, it's really important that you're using historical data to derive an overall membership goal. So for example, when I was club president, I used to say, okay, every recruiting event, we get about 100 people that come into our GroupMe, but we only retain about 30 of those. So if I want to have 60 members this time, I need to retain or recruit 130 people to get that additional 30 people in there retained. So make sure you're looking at past data. Like Zach showed us, we were looking at last year's number and the year before that. So it's really important to be looking at past data before you set this year's goal. Prepare members before any recruiting event. That's really important. Make sure members know what to say, how to say it, and who to say it to. We want to know, they need to know what not to say and what to say, and how to really reel these prospective members into the club. And then also just being a personable leader is very important. So people want to have leaders that they can relate to, that are very personable, that they can talk to and just chit chat with. So if you're a leader in the organization, please be a personable one if possible. Next is recruiting event etiquette. So personally, this is just something I do. And when I'm at a recruiting event, I always start by asking about them just to make them feel more welcome to the organization. So saying, hey, like, what's your name? What's your major? What year are you? Try not to interrogate them, but just get to know them as best you can, to make them feel welcome and important to the organization. And then at that point, once you do that, highly recommend you explain what we are and who we do, or what we do, who we are, what we do. Explain our tenets of service, leadership, and fellowship. And the reason why it's important to explain our tenets is because we all know when people come into college, they're all looking for something different when they're looking at organizations. Some people are looking for a resume builder. Some people are looking for a place to make friends. Others are looking for a place to make a difference. And guess what? We offer all of that, literally. So I would, drive that point home to these prospective members that CKI is the place to foster change, make friends, and build a resume all at the same time. And that is the beauty of Circle K. Also, service is really meaningful. So you can see my meme here. Sometimes people just straight up say they don't like community service, and that's fine. Not everybody does. So at that point, you can just tell them your story of how you came to love community service, and maybe that'll encourage them to join and serve and see how they like it. Next, provide prospective members with something tangible to walk away with at a recruiting event. So like a brochure or a flyer. And I also recommend that you have like a QR code on site at the recruiting event. That way, people can just scan it and like join a group chat that you have. Having a group chat for a club is really important. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it. And then lastly, just be respectful of other people's time. A lot of times at these recruiting events, there are other tables. Like at Alabama, I go to the University of Alabama. We have what's called Get On Board Day, and there are over 500 student organizations tabling out there. So just be very respectful of other people's time. Know that they want to walk around and look at other tables. And that's why it's really important to have this flyer that you hand to them so they can look at it later on when they get home. And then lastly, next is effective methods. So create a recruitment video. These are really fun. You can use TikTok or Reels. Have members tell their stories and their favorite parts about Circle K. You can make it funny. You can make it serious, whatever, floats your boat. Next, reaching out to prospective members individually is very important. Ask if they're going to meetings and events, saying, hey, like I used to do this when I was president, say, oh my gosh, are you going to the meeting next week? I'm going and I'd love to see you there. Or, hey, would you like to get a cup of coffee? I'd love to get to know you better. Or, I'd love to talk about your future in Circle K. All of that is so important. To keep members that you've just recruited, you have to get to them on a personal level. You have to be able to talk to them on a personal level and to make them feel very welcome and valued to the organization itself. Next, explain ways members can get involved immediately. You can talk about the first year ambassador program. You can implement that. That is a way that new members can get involved immediately. A lot of people, like I said, are looking to get into these leadership positions early. They're looking for a resume builder. So implement the first year ambassador program, and that's a great way to accomplish that for those members. And then next, having theme meetings is really cool. This is something my club president started the year before I was club president. Basically, each meeting goes with a tenet. So we'd have a service meeting where we would do a service project. We'd have a leadership theme meeting where we would do we'd have a professional development speaker come in, or we would do a resume building workshop. And then the next meeting will be a fellowship meeting where we would have like a social event or just do like some icebreakers or some games. Okay. And then lastly, some tips and tricks. So hosting an interest meeting is really hosting an interest meeting is very powerful. The reason why is because when you're at that initial recruiting event, like I said, a lot of times there's going to be other tables. The students are really distracted. They're not really listening about like what you're saying. So a lot of times people want to be able to come back at a later time and hear more about the organization. That's what an interest meeting is for. And I highly encourage you to stress to these prospective members, hey, look, this is not a commitment. This is just a great way to get to know more about the organization. I'd love for you to come come, for example, Alabama, we always have ice cream at this interest meeting. So food gets college kids crazy. Like if you have food, if it's in your budget, make it work. Like I said, reaching out to new members after the first meeting and event is very important and throughout the year. Ask members for names of those who could benefit from membership. So asking people to bring friends to meetings and whatnot, asking people to talk to other people in their classes, advertise across campus. I know like at Alabama, we have TVs across campus, like all inside the buildings. If you can get up on there for free, do it. It's a great way to spread our name. Request that local newspapers cover service projects. So for example, we do a 9/11 memorial at Alabama, and every year we have the Tuscaloosa Reporter report on our service project, and that really helps us get our project and our values out to the community, and so people know more about what Circle K International is and what we do. Next, creating a membership committee is powerful. It means there's a committee that's dedicated to working on membership growth, collaborating with other organizations on campus. And lastly, always speak with excitement and pride when you're talking about Circle K International. Enthusiasm is very contagious, so always talk in a positive manner if possible. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but for our first exercise, it's called Common Objections. So basically, a lot of times when we're at recruiting events, we'll hear people say these things, like I'm too busy to be in this organization, or I can't afford membership dues. And what I want to do is I want you all to tell me, what would your response be to each of these? So I'm going to read off one, and then I want a couple of you to come in and say, what would your response be to this student, to try and reel them back in and to still try to get them to join the organization if possible. So for our first one, and you can just start chatting, you don't have to raise your hand. So for our first one, if a student says, I am too busy to be in this organization, what is your response? Anyone got anything?
One thing that I usually do when people say they're very busy is I'll say like we have a lot of different service projects, so there's a great amount of flexibility with the amount of time that you are able to put into the club, and we're able to work around your schedule, and you can really sign up for what you want to sign up for. That's really something that we've emphasized in our club is like you don't have to volunteer every week. If you're busy one week, you can volunteer as much as you'd like.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important. And we do the same thing at Alabama. It's just say like Circle K is what you put into it. It can be a huge time commitment. It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. So it's whatever you want to put into it. So thank you, Zach. Anybody else have anything for this one, or do you want to go on to the next one?
We say the same thing at our club. It's like very big on like, we understand that you're a college student. We understand that you have other things going on. You have work, you have a social life, you have school, like you have all these different areas. And exactly like you guys said, it's like you show up if you want, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. It doesn't hurt you, but we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Thank you.
There's a lot in the chat too, Taylor.
Am I missing the chat? Y'all, I'm so sorry. Let's see. Flexible schedule, attend whatever events fit your schedule. Yeah, very flexible schedule in Circle K. Pick and choose what you want to do. Not mandatory to attend everything. That's very important to mention. Don't sweat if you can't. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss that. Thank you, Katie. All right, for our next one, I can't afford membership dues. I get this one a lot. So what's our response to this one? Yes, fundraising, especially like with your Kiwanis Club, for sure. What else do we got? Anything else for this one? Yeah,
Was this
so
one?
Sorry.
Sorry. No, you're totally fine. I was just gonna say this is very random. This is one that I don't know that a lot of people have probably ever done, but like I've actually offered to pay their dues for them. And then I tell them that if after the first, meeting or a couple times that they show up to an event that they're not feeling it, then that's fine. Like that's totally up to them. But it has worked every time. Like I've not had a single one that hasn't like stuck around.
That's really nice of you. Thank you. Yes, Jose, asking for Kiwanis support for dues. Absolutely. I know my local Kiwanis club does give us a couple $100 every semester for dues, which is really nice. So definitely reach out to your Kiwanis clubs if this is a problem. Fundraising in general, like club fundraising, if your bylaws allow it, fundraising for dues is a really good idea as well. All right, next, I'm just not interested in this organization. Is this something we can recover from? What do you guys think? Looks like we had something else in the chat about the last one too. The student association, awesome. So what do we say if someone says they're just not interested in Circle K? Okay, in the chat mentioning how there are service, leadership, and fellowship opportunities so we can always find something that interests that person. Yes, Zach sharing a really cool story to try and sell it. Talking about how we have a wide variety of events that they can come to. All great ideas. Yes, perfect, Jeremy. So talking about just come to one meeting. That's why it's also really important to have a nice interest meeting with some fun things like food. Yes, giving them the opportunity to organize a service project or doing it for them. Scholarships and networking. So mentioning member benefit, that's really important as well. Thank you guys. That was all great. All right, and then the last one is going to be, I'm not sure this organization will provide me with the experience, the skills and experiences that I am looking for. So this one kind of overlaps a bit with the last one. Yes, asking what they're looking for and describing how Circle K can provide it. That is really good. Talking about them, what do they want? Focusing on them, what are they looking for? That's really good, Katie. Yes, networking, resume building, leadership opportunities, all the member benefits. Great. Oops, my bad. All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much. So definitely screenshot some of these in the chat. These are some great ideas in here. All right, so let's move on to retention really quick, and then we'll go into the next exercise. So for retention, a lot of people say they want to stay in Circle, they join Circle K for the service, but they stay for the friends. And a lot of people mean that. So really sit with people you don't know at meetings, new members, try to get to know people that you don't know previously. Always provide your members with resources and opportunities. So do the work for your members if you can in terms of finding service projects for them to do and whatnot. Give member shout outs at each meeting. So this is something that Alabama did, and it actually encouraged me to run for a position. So they would give a member shout out to a new member and a returning member for doing something outstanding with the organization or just in day-to-day life. This can really make somebody feel special and encourage them to run for a position or encourage them to keep doing the good that they're doing in their community. Hosting a leadership theme meeting before elections to discuss positions in leadership. So having an elections webinar is very powerful. This provides people with the opportunity to ask you questions about the positions that are open for election. Next, sending out weekly newsletters and updates on the website. And then ensuring a strong social media presence. So make sure you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn's cool too. Try to be on everything if you can. And then send members to the website for resources. I want to stress really quick, there are so many resources on the international website that I didn't realize about until I was trustee. And even now that I'm trustee, I promise you, I still don't know everything that's on there. And that's because there are so many amazing resources on this website. So I encourage you to take 10 to 20 minutes on your free time and go on the website and just look at the resources that we have. And I encourage you to send those resources to people that you feel like could be actively using them this spring for recruitment. And not just recruitment, we have so many other resources on the website as well. Next for retention is having strong club club leadership is very important. Thank you, Katie. Strong club leadership is very important. Without strong leadership, you're going to have a hard time having a strong club. It's important to have a strong team, but it's also important to have strong leadership. And the biggest role, in my opinion, of a leader is to be part of the team. So you need to go into battle with your team. You need to come out of battle with your team. You need to be part of the team. You need to be showing up. You need to be showing out, meeting expectations, exceeding expectations. You need to be active, because if you're not active, what incentive does it provide other members to be active, right? You need to be present at meetings, events, service projects, etc. And look, I know you can't make everything, but if you're a leader in this organization, you really need to be putting in the effort, and you need to be there for your team. And then lastly, strong leaders don't abuse authority. So like, for example, the University of Alabama, we have a service hour requirement, we have a meeting requirement. So making sure, love the comments, guys. So making sure that you're not abusing authority, you're reaching that hour requirement, you're reaching that meeting requirement. And it's not, oh, well, because I'm president, I don't have to. No, you do have to. So it's very important for you to be a strong leader and for you to be an authentic one. Oh. And then lastly, some tips and tricks for retention. So we want to create a shared spreadsheet that outlines events, meetings, and service projects throughout the year. I had a lot of members asking me when I was club president, Taylor, I would just like a big outline of what's going on this year. And so I created that, and it was a very powerful tool for our members. Creating a shared calendar is a really powerful tool as well. That way members can keep up with events and service projects. Having a link tree, if you don't know what a link tree is, go on my Instagram, pretty sure it's on Zach's, maybe Katie's, and just go on our links and you'll see the link tree. It's really cool. It brings you to a list of a bunch of links. You can put signups, community service hour submission, anything in there. And then also having a raffle system to encourage participation is really cool as well. So our next exercise before the trivia is, how do we respond? So the following scenarios are very common and very possible at recruiting events, and your job is to respond to the situation the best way possible. So kind of similar to the last exercise, but I want you to kind of explain to others your thought process and maybe some other things that you should consider when looking at these scenarios. So scenario one, a prospective member walks up to your table and explains that they have a busy schedule and are not sure if they can attend all of the meetings, but they are very interested in joining CKI. So this is a little bit similar to the one we had earlier, but if someone could kind of talk about it a little bit more, what is a good response that still encourages them to join the organization? Oops. And you guys can type in the chat. You can unmute yourself and talk.
Good afternoon. Am I being heard?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So I am from the Caribbean district, and normally I can share these sentiments that are in this scenario. There are persons who have different schedules that are not allowed to meet on days that we have meetings. But what we try to do is, if it is that there are projects on the weekends that you can participate in, then we open that to them. And as well as the Caribbean district normally has different projects scheduled on different dates. So there's always opportunity for persons to participate even if they can't attend regular meetings. There are also online meetings such as this where they can get to experience what it is like to fellowship with fellow Soccer members.
Perfect. Thank you so much. See, we got some stuff in the chat. Still ways to participate outside of meetings. Don't have to be at every single meeting or event. Yes, I love saying you love to have them in Circle K, starting off with that. Flexibility of service events, specifically planning events that they and other students can attend. Yes. All right, thank you guys so much for that. Let's go to the second scenario. A prospective member walks up to your table and either seems rushed or is losing interest fast. This happens. What do you do? So someone's losing interest, their body language is telling you they're just not that interested anymore. They kind of look like they want to walk away. Are we going to be able to reel them back in? What are we going to do? Yes, in the chat. Perfect. Handing them an infographic or a business card with more information. This gives them time to look at it later on when they may not be so overwhelmed. That's perfect. Shortening the elevator pitch. Absolutely. The interest meetings, yes. See, guys, these flyers, these interest meetings are an amazing tool. They're perfect. Really give people the opportunity to be able to walk away and come back and look at it later. Yes. Anyone else before we move on to the last one? Okay. All right, and the last scenario. This happens too. A prospective member walks up to your table and is interested in CKI up until the point where you mention community service. They're clearly not interested. So what is your approach to reeling them back in? Does anyone have anything on this one? Yes, Kendall, we do more than service. We have leadership and fellowship aspects of Circle K as well. Perfect. Explain our tenets. So this is more than service that we have to offer. Yes, highlighting the other aspects of the club, Kiwanis relations, really cool events that we have. How service events can be fun. Absolutely. Member benefits. Absolutely. And also like telling people like, look, like just try out community service. Because like personally, me, I was in JRTC in high school and that's where I found my love for community service. But before that, when I was in middle school, when I thought of community service, it didn't really excite me. But it wasn't until I tried it that I realized how much I loved it. So maybe also telling people your story about how you came to love community service as well. Perfect. Did I miss any? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. Definitely screenshot. Let's see. Yes, when you originally were not interested in community service, but then you made friends through community service. Perfect. Thank you. So screenshot the chat. We have a lot of great ideas in this chat, y'all. Definitely screenshot this. Oh, yes. Thank you. We have a recording. I forgot. Thank you, Zach. All right. Awesome. And are there any questions before we go into trivia? Also, if you have any questions at a later time, I'm going to send my email in the chat. You can always send me an email or call me. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. It's time for trivia. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor. And for those of you guys that don't know, Taylor was also a lieutenant governor before she was trustee. So don't hesitate to reach out to her with any questions. If you're a lieutenant governor and you want help, she's a great resource to ask. So don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, now we're going to go back to Kahoot, but we're going to try and speed things up a little bit so that we can stay on time today. So here is the code. We're going to give it like a minute or so, and then we're just going to get started. I guess Kahoot like upgraded their music. This is new. as we head into the last portion of the service year, it can definitely be a little bit difficult to find the motivation to do CKI work because we're coming into the last few months of the term for most of you. So what I wanted to talk about today before we head into breakout rooms is working through burnout in CKI as a student leader. So I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to talk to you guys today about not only how can you prevent burnout, but how you can work through burnout and make sure that you're prioritizing your mental health, particularly as a student leader. So a lot of people experience burnout, but they might not be able to identify it or understand what it is. So burnout is the state of fatigue and frustration arising from unrealistic, excessive demands on personal resources, and it leads to physical and mental exhaustion. So like I said, many of you, including me, have probably experienced burnout, but maybe just not have been able to identify it as what it is. And for a lot of students, burnout is kind of the result of saying yes to too many things, this mentality of yes, I can, yes, I will, just constantly saying yes to things and not being able to take a break or feel like you need to take on more than you might need to, even though there's a lot of other options. So like I said, most of us have probably experienced burnout. But it's good to just identify it and understand what it is, especially if maybe you haven't experienced burnout, but you're around a lot of other student leaders who might have experienced this, and be able to be a little bit more understanding towards those that have. So I think that when we talk about preventing and working through burnout, a lot of people come with the mantra of just do less. Similar to when you might tell someone you're feeling anxious about something and they're like, oh, just don't be anxious. So like it's not very helpful. So I think obviously doing less is so much easier said than done. But I think something that's really important to remember is that effective leadership isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right things. As student leaders, we can't do everything, especially if you're a district governor or a club president or a lieutenant governor. You have a lot on your plate, not only CKI, but also life and family and relationships. There's a lot going on, and you're not going to be able to do everything. So you really need to be able to prioritize based on impact, feasibility, and alignment with your organization's goals and student needs. So it's not necessarily about just doing less, but more defining what does less mean for you? Does it mean focusing on more strategic planning and less time on administrative tasks and being able to delegate those administrative tasks? Maybe it's focusing on fewer initiatives, but more impactful initiatives, things that you might be able to execute better if you're able to work on it in and of itself rather than trying to balance 3 different projects at once. So I think not letting ourselves get into this habit of saying, oh, I just need to do less, because for a lot of people that might not help. You might still be burnt out even though you're doing less, because the things that you're doing are still very taxing on your mental and physical health. So a lot of questions that people have are like, okay, I'm experiencing burnout, or my board members are experiencing burnout, but I don't really know what to do to help them. I don't know how to really like prioritize what they need to do along with my own schedule. So I think the first thing you can do is something called return to center. So if any of you guys like to do yoga, after different movements, they tell you to return to center, which basically means to return to where you started, to your resting point. And it's basically where you feel balanced, where you feel the most yourself, and is kind of the place that you can just feel relaxed and able to focus on yourself in that moment. So when you're helping yourself or your peers return to center, it's basically refocusing them on what matters in their life, what are their values. And from an organizational standpoint, this could look like many different things, but most of the time it's probably asking them like, why did you choose to join CKI? Why did you choose to take on this position? Why did you decide to stay in this organization despite the things that you might have going on in your life? Because when you're allowed to reflect on those values and reflect on how and why you got here, it'll make your leadership and your position a lot more meaningful, and basically allow you to really think about, okay, like why did I join this organization? How can I get myself back into that mentality of really having a lot of passion for where I am right now? And the second thing is recognition. So especially if you're leading a board or another committee or anything like that, working with your members and having like share why you selected them for their position. So maybe as a district governor, my district editor is feeling really burnt out. So I decide to set up a meeting with them and talk to them about ways that I can support them. And part of that is saying, you're a really creative and innovative person, and that's why I selected you for this position. So not only are you recognizing them for the work and the inherent qualities that they have, but you're also allowing them to reflect on that and really recognize the inherent value that they have in and of themselves. So it's really a great time to just have them reflect on their role. And not only that, but also what they bring to that role and the other expectations that others might have of them because of the value that they bring. Another thing that you can do is reflect. So we talked a little bit about this before, but it's really easy to feel overwhelmed with how much we have going on in CKI and other organizations. So that's a really great opportunity to think about what the organization is currently doing and evaluate it. Does it really align or support in CKI or your organization's mission, values, and vision? And if it does, then you can think about ways that you might be able to prioritize that in relation to other events. And if it doesn't, maybe consider eliminating that event or postponing it and thinking about ways that you can reduce the complexity in order to make it an easier event for people to do. I think that it's hard, especially when you have a club that's planning so many different events, to really think about each individual event and the different ways that it might support the mission and goals of CKI. But really taking the time to do that will give you the perspective you need in order to prioritize and think about the mental health of your members and your board, whether it be a club or a district board. And then finally, re-energize. I think that de-stressing and having time that is set aside just to do fellowship activities is so, so important for your club, because a lot of times as student leaders, we can get bogged down in the work really easily. We're staying up late, we're skipping meals, we're not getting enough sleep, we're stressed. And that kind of just leads into a positive feedback loop of feeling stressed, so doing more work, and then doing more work, but you need to do more. So like there's just like this positive feedback loop of continuously being stressed. But if you can break that and really schedule a day of fun or bonding or downtime together, watch a movie, do a craft, paint, like there are so many opportunities that you can really take to do something that is not related to work and just re-energize and have self-care time so that you can really reflect on your values and think about where you are as an organization and where you want to go. So this is a really big takeaway that I want you all to think about as we go into the rest of the service year, but it's something that we all have a responsibility to do, and that's actively working to disrupt the idea that exhaustion is an indicator of success. I feel like constantly we talk to people and they're like, oh, like you just got home and you're really tired, but that's okay because it means that you worked hard. No, you can work hard and not be exhausted. Like that, just because you are working hard and you're doing all these things for your organization does not mean that that has to come at the cost of your mental health. So just because you're doing all these things, you need to take time to prioritize yourself. And exhaustion is not an indicator of success at all. There are so many different metrics that you can use to measure success, and exhaustion is not one of them. I am a really big like quote vision board person, and this is a quote that I have on like one of my vision boards on my Pinterest. But I think it's really important, and it really kind of highlights what I wanted everyone to take away from this. So destroy the idea that you constantly have to be working or grinding in order to be successful. Embrace the concept that rest, recovery, and reflection are essential parts of the progress toward a successful and happy life. So obviously there's this kind of hustle culture that we're currently living in society, that you have to be working, you have to be stressed in order to feel successful. And that's not the case at all. Rest and recovery are such essential parts of your day and your life, and you really need to make sure that you're prioritizing that in order to make sure that you can be your best self. Because when you're able to be yourself and be motivated and be grounded in your values, that will make you an even more successful leader, and it'll make your members will see that too. If you show up and you're so stressed and you're lacking sleep and you haven't eaten enough meals in the day, your members will notice that. But if you can really take the time to take care of yourself and show up as the best version of yourself, your members will see that too. And you are a reflection of them as well. So if they see that you're doing that, it'll inspire them to do that as well. So these are all just really important things to talk about. So now we're going to go into breakout rooms, and I'm going to have you guys talk about three main things. So today we've talked about recruitment, retention, burnout, and we had Zach give us kind of like a state of CCAT as where we are as an organization. So the first thing I want you guys to talk about is what recruitment or retention strategies work really well for you and your club or district, what does not work well, and how might you change that to improve. And then finally, what is your experience with burnout and how do you help yourself and others stay engaged while working through burnout? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope that those breakout rooms were engaging and helpful. And hopefully you got to talk to some new people that you haven't really talked to before and get some new recruitment ideas and ways that you can keep your board or your members engaged through burnout. So as we wrap up today, I'd like you all to put one word in the chat that describes how you're feeling about the rest of the service year after today. A lot of excited and pumped, optimistic, excited. Amaya. That is the word that Taylor would like to use.
No, I said pumped, and then she said it like at the same time. So I was like, Amaya.
Curious, motivated, hopeful, optimistic, refreshed. I love all this. Excited. So many good words. So yeah, thank you all for sharing. I want to remind you all as we kind of wrap up today that although being a student leader is not easy by any means, you quite literally have an entire community behind you to support you in your positions. From clubs to district to international, there are students at every single level of this organization that you can turn to when you need help. And trust me, it's always encouraged to ask for help when you need it. Each of you bring a unique perspective Each of you bring a unique perspective to our community, and together we really create a patchwork of service leadership and fellowship. So as we step into the remainder of the service year, I want you all to focus on three main things: supporting each other, growing together, and making a difference in the lives of those around us. So thank you all so much for coming, and we're so excited to see what you do in the rest of the service year. If you need anything, please feel free to, I can't English today. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you need anything. We're so excited to see what you do, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.